What's up, folks? Sean, the Average Angler. Welcome to the channel. Got another great video for you today. For those that are new to the channel, if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe. Subscribing's the important one. Try and watch the video all the way through. I don't talk just to talk. I'm trying to give you guys some juice, but if I give you all the juice in the beginning, then everybody can click off, and then I don't get no time on my video. And that kind of thing matters to the algorithm, so, you know, if you've been here before and you like the content, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. All right, enough of that. It is March. A lot of the country now, at least the southern half, we're going to start getting into that pre-spawn mode. Fish are going to start transitioning. Days are getting longer. For those of you unfortunate ones like me, we just had the daylight savings where the time changes. And we tend to have this really up and down weather, right? Here in California where I live, that's exactly what we're going through. It's not my favorite time of year for weather patterns. So today we're going to talk about one of the things that's dominating my rods for my trip to Clear Lake in a couple days. You heard right, in a couple days I'm heading to Clear Lake. And what I do know is the hitch have started to make their move to spawn. Hitch are kind of unique to our lake here in Clear Lake, California. But it's not the only lake in the country that has hitch. And it's not the only lake in the country that has bait fish that spawn, right? So very similar to other fish that spawn, our bass start to key in on these bait fish, especially the big bass. Now, much like a trout-fed lake or a lake that has trout or kokanee or something else like that, these are very hearty meals that give those big fish a lot of nourishment and protein that helps them through the spawn. And plus, quite honestly, at Clear Lake, I just think their fish are pigs and don't know how to not eat. At least if you look at how they're built, that's what you see. So I want to share with you what is outfitted really on more rods than not. What I told you already, you probably have a pretty good idea that I've got quite a few swim baits rigged up, and you'd be right if you thought that. I think 5. So we're going to go over some of those and what they're for and this and that and how I'm approaching it. Now, the weather we're going to be facing is changing, and that's why I said I don't like the weather changes, because it starts to get nice, and it's like, man, I'd love to be out there on the lake today. It's so beautiful. And not going to be so beautiful when I'm there. Right now, well, I didn't look today. I looked yesterday. High in the mid-40s. We're going to have some rain. Looks like we're going to have some wind, but not too bad. But just cooler temperatures. With that in mind, let's just talk about cooler temperatures this time of year do affect the bass. However, with those hitch making their move to go spawn, they're not going to stop. Okay, once they come up out of deep water and they start heading towards those creeks to go up and spawn, they are not going to turn around because it gets cold for a couple days and go back and say, I'm not going to spawn now. All right, hitch do like the cooler temperatures. With that in mind, I got a lot of baits rigged up, and we're going to show you, and these are all Clear Lake staples, folks, okay? If you're not familiar with them and you fish there, you should get familiar with them. And if you're out of the area and in other places, these are all really good baits, and I'll tell you why I keyed on these, okay? But the first one is the trash fish. Okay, you fish it on a beast hook. This one is let's see, is that a 1/4 or 3/8? That looks like it's a 1/4. That is a 6-inch trash fish. Very popular bait here on Clear Lake. It's a good bottom bouncing bait or bottom crawling bait. Now, I will tell you this, that they come in a lot of really good colors. And I'm just going to grab one right here and show you that these are for everywhere in the country. This is just shad, okay? Kind of a blackish gray or bluish gray back, white belly, just like your shad, right, in any other lake. So there's a lot of good ones. Here's another one right here. This is LC Hitch. Well, it says it's LC Hitch. I don't think that's LC Hitch, but this is tucked out. Okay, so it is LC Hitch, tucked out. Looks very bait fishy, right? These are awesome swim baits for fishing really slow on a beast hook on the bottom. Now, I will say that you can probably fish them on a jig head as well. All right, not gonna, probably, you can. The tag was torn off and I'm trying to put it back on the hanger and it keeps falling down. Another favorite of mine is this one right here. That is a Gancraft 178. That is the hitch pattern. Now, while the hitch pattern may have some importance, I will point out that back when Steve Kennedy set the record on Clear Lake, he was throwing a trout swim bait, a Huddleston, right? There's no trout in Clear Lake. Well, there might be one or two that someone threw in there, but there are not trout in Clear Lake. They do not plant trout in Clear Lake. Yet, Steve Kennedy got all those fish to bite on that bait. Now, why is that? Well, it's the shape. Okay, that shape is similar to the bait fish that those fish key on in Clear Lake. So I showed you one bottom bouncing bait. I showed you one up in the column bait. Well, here's another bottom bait. And this is one I like. This is this out dangerous. There's a lot of them out there. I also have some packed already. I just didn't want to pull them out. And that's the GCJ Executioners. Okay, 6-inch bait. I've got the top hooks. I've also got the weedless that you run the beast hook on. But again, a bottom bouncing bait. It's what I like about this Al Dangerous is a bottom bouncing bait. I really like a top hook. Okay, I think the hookup ratio is really good on those. If you're in areas that you can throw them without them snagging, they're great. Again, we have the nice slender profile, right? From top to bottom, nice slender profile. It goes along with the hitch. I don't think the color is quite as important here or anywhere else for that matter. I think it's more important to have the shape. This shape is very easy for a big bass to eat. And you're gonna kind of see a pattern here. And now stick around because I'm gonna show you some really nice shit here in a minute. Here is my bag of glide and swim baits that is going with me. Actually, this is just the glide baits. Okay, again, we don't know due to weather the fish are going to be up or down in the water column. And like I said, they're going to be chasing hitch. That's not going to stop due to the weather. So with that in mind, there will be some fish up shallow. It just depends on what part of the lake you're fishing. So first, I will show you the Tremura shad. Okay, all of these are pretty much 7 and 8-inch glide baits, and they're all going to be what I call tournament baits. Okay, you'll see again, top to bottom, it's kind of on the narrower side, not as narrow as some of these are, but it still has that similar profile. Okay, up top here, these are both Ratt Sneaky Pete's. Okay, again, that profile, right? Slender profile. These are both clutch darters. Again, same thing, right? Narrow top to bottom profiles. We do not have gizzard shad here, which are your opposite, where they're tall top to bottom, right? So I'm trying to stick with the match the hatch from the profile. And you'll see there's a bunch of different colors there. I'm not near as concerned about the color. Here's another Ratt Executioner. This is Jackson Rumbanis's color. To me, it looks very similar to that of a blackfish, which is another fish we have in Clear Lake. Might be a little early for him, we'll see. You can tell when it's time because all of a sudden you'll see all these fish, and they're very interesting. They're not as narrow top to bottom. Okay, this is more of a color match and a profile match to the size and shape that the fish in Clear Lake like. And then I just have a custom painted Shad down there on the bottom. Okay, so these are the glides that I'm taking with me. I have a ton of other glides. I am going with a friend and not taking my boat. So I have to pack a little differently. Okay, if I was taking my boat, it would be full. All the compartments would be full, and then I would narrow down as I go. I love the fact that I don't have to tow my boat up there. I get to go fishing. The hardest part is narrowing down your tackle and rod choices. All right, a couple sleepers. And these are special. Not something I like to put out there real often. I think I recently showed you another bait, but these are a little more special to me, and they are the Megabass. Okay, this is a 7-inch soft plastic glide bait. You can chop them, you can reel them. They fish high up in the water column. Okay, and they have great colors. That's what I really love about these. Look at the color. Okay, and on the back, they show you 2 different ways to fish them. This is what they call dead sticking, and there's also a slalom action. And then it has the twitch action, which is basically walking, right? These are not available in the States. You have to order them out of Japan. Again, they're phenomenal. Look at the freaking detail. They even painted the mouth. I'm not sure why they painted that color, but anyway, they painted the mouth. Here's another one. I'm gonna open these just so you guys get a better idea of the color and how phenomenal they are. These are called the Megabass Ayu Twitcher, right? Great color. Again, they're about 7 inches. All of these baits are around the same size. It's just a good get bit size that has enough size to have some presence, and it's small enough for just about everything in the world to eat, right? Now these, like I said, they fish very high in the water column. These are baits that I will most likely weight, add some tungsten nails to them so that I can get them to sink a little bit. Not a lot. We're talking about a couple feet, 3 feet at the most. Again, Clear Lake is a very diverse lake in that you have shallow water up at the north end of the lake where all the creek mouths and those kinds of things are. And as you go down into the narrows, you'll get down into some deeper water. Deep is relative, right? It's not a reservoir. It is a natural lake. You'd be hard pressed to find anything much over 50 feet in Clear Lake. Most of it in the deeper areas, talk 30, 35. And then as you head south, you're going to get back into some more shallow stuff, although there's still some deep stuff mixed in with it. So with that in mind, you have a lot of diversity, a lot of different ways to fish. So when you're packing, it's difficult because you have to be prepared to, hey, maybe we're going to fish the deep part of the lake. Maybe we're going to fish up north and we're going to be throwing all reaction baits and really moving and, juking and jiving. Here's another one that I'm in the midst of really wanting to play with, and that is a 5-inch Megabass spark shad, and I've got this on that core tackle swim bait head, right? It's a hook that has the weight going down the hook. It is a phenomenal looking bait. I like that there's nothing on it to intrude, if you will, with the natural profile of the bait, and I'm really curious to see how this swims. Now, the beauty of this rig is I can fish it higher in the water column, or I can let it sink to the bottom and slow reel it along the bottom. I can fish it in 2 foot of water. I can fish it in 25 foot of water. So I'm kind of excited to try this out and just see, okay? The color, I believe, I'm not really sure what they call it. Where the heck is it? I don't see the pack right here. Anyway, think outside the box some. That's, you know, it's a swim bait. A-rig is another something I got rigged up. The underspin's another something I got rigged up. Lot of swim bait based presentations. There I have the 5.8 inch Clear Lake hitch of the Keitech. I'll open this up because this is not the Keitech we're used to seeing, right? It's a pretty big bait. Nice and wide. And this can be fished a multitude of ways, right? It can be fished on an underspin. It can be fished on a beast hook. It can be fished on a flashy swimmer. These are a great way to throw something a little bit bigger than your typical, but not really into your realm of the big bait, right? This is a 5.8. So you'll see it's a little bit bigger than that 5 inch, right? As advertised. The nice thing about these last rigs here I showed you, and actually most of these, is you don't need any special rod, reel, line for it. Pretty much all of them I'm going to throw, depending on what they're rigged on, 16 to 20 pound test, and I can interchange. Although I did take a swim bait rod, one. I'm taking one because I'm going in someone else's boat and I don't have the room to put all my specialty rods in. The one I'm taking is a Leviathan. It's very universal. It will cover a lot of the bigger baits. I can throw the bottom bouncing on it, and I can throw the glide baits on it. Okay, so it covers a pretty good spectrum of baits for me, which I like. I have a lot of iRod swim bait rods, glide bait rods, but it would require me to take, because they're specialty, it would require me to take more rods. Now, if I was dialed into a bite and that kind of thing, no problem. But I'm not dialed in. I kind of know what's going on, but I don't, because I haven't been there for myself. So someone else's bite isn't my bite. I have to go up there and see what's going to happen. If you guys did not watch my chatterbait, go back and look at my chatterbait video, because look at those blades. And just for reference, there's your standard chatterbait. Okay, look at the blade. Go back to my customizing chatterbaits. Watch that video if you haven't seen it. Give you an idea about those things, but that's something else I'm going to play with. Like I said, the A-rig, but swim baits, that's what the video was about. Now look guys, like I said, if I was going in my boat, I would be toting around some of my 9, 10 inch glide baits, some of the bigger baits I have. When I go in somebody else's boat, I'm going with the get bit size, which to me is at 7 to 8 inch range, 6 to 8 inch range. It still gives me the ability to have a swim bait and a bigger bait, bigger meaning bigger than normal, but it's get bit size to me, okay? It's something I can carry in someone else's boat, and if I showed you my tackle bag, it would probably freak you out because I really don't have much tackle in it. I've got a terminal box, I've got a deep crank box, and I've got a ton of swim baits thrown in there. Okay, a lot of Keitechs, a lot of Ratt thin swims for A-rigs, underspins. Who knows what I'm going to end up catching fish on. Hopefully I catch some big fish. You just never know. I will take some spare reels. This is how I pack when I go. I will take some spare reels with some different size line on it so that I can interchange it on the rods that I did take. I took the rods I took because they're universal, okay? I've got a big giant crankbait on, but that rod I can also throw glide baits on. So we're covered, all right? Sean the Average Angler, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you know you need to hit that subscribe button. This was a 20-minute video. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.